Before I quit my 9-to-5 job, I tried my hardest to get new employees to do all of the financial things that will set them up for success later in life. I have a few friends at my old job that called me Money Mom because I was always trying to encourage them to make choices that would set them up later in life so that they didn't have to work as hard for as long as a lot of other people did. It was one of my big passions at my day job that I was not compensated for. I just wanted everyone that was starting a new job to have the ability to succeed financially. So I want to share some of the things that I was always trying to get people starting a new job to do. If this is your first job, it probably seems a little bit overwhelming and you're maybe gonna check out of doing all of the adult stuff that you need to do when you start a job. You might not want to look through all your paperwork and figure out all the details, but if you do these things, I promise you, you're gonna be happy. You will be so glad you did them later when you leave that job or later when you're able to use what you've done here to benefit yourself. So without further ado, let's look at the money tips and things that you should do when you start a new job. First is to sign up for your 401k. If your company gives you a 401k match, if there is any match at all, you need to sign up and take advantage of that. If you do that from the very beginning, I promise you won't miss that money. I find that a lot of people at my last job were really reluctant to start a 401k because they felt like they couldn't afford it and they couldn't miss that money. But when I left my job, I had tens of thousands of dollars in my 401k. It was really nice to walk away with basically a year's worth of salary that I had saved up. I walked away from my job without severance, but I had almost a full year's salary saved up because I had been putting money in my 401k since I started that particular job. If you start your 401k from the minute you're eligible, I promise you that it will be a huge win for you. If you think that you can't miss that money, just think about the money that you're missing from the match. That match is money that your company has set aside that they have decided is your money. It is part of your compensation package. So if you are not putting money in your 401k to get the match, you're saying it's okay to pay you less. And that is not a good way to start out at your first job or your career in general. You always want to take as much money as you can when you are hired. So figure out when you're eligible at your company to start investing in your 401k and if there's a match, and take advantage of that. Sign up and put as much as you feel comfortable into that account. Next is to set up Autodraft for savings from your paychecks. Depending on the way you're getting paid, you may have the ability to set up your paycheck to go to different accounts from payroll. I had this at my last job and it was so helpful to help save for an emergency fund and just different funds that I wanted to save for, because I could add multiple different bank accounts. So my paycheck was automatically distributed to those accounts by percentages. So I could put 10% of my paycheck into a separate account that I never even saw, and that helped me save up money really, really quickly. This is something that I highly recommend you do. If you can't do it from your payroll, you can always do it from your bank account. As soon as that money hits on payday, have an automatic savings withdrawal so the money goes from your main checking account to savings and you never have to do anything for it. I love to do manual withdrawals with my money because I have a YouTube channel and it's part of what I do here. But if you really, really, really want to save money, automatic withdrawals are the way to do it. So set up your automated system as soon as you get a job and plan to have paychecks. Next is to make a budget on your income that you will be getting every paycheck after your 401k and those automated savings. Do not include any of that money in the amount that you have coming in when you're budgeting, and make sure that everything you need to have taken care of first is taken care of. So put the money in savings and never look at it until you have an actual emergency. If this is the first time that you're budgeting, prepare to have a lot of mistakes. It's gonna be a challenge, and you might not have to have a very strict budget. When you're first starting out, you might not have a lot of bills, and that is fantastic because that gives you a little bit more flexibility. When you first get a job and start getting those regular paychecks, take this time to, instead of like blowing the money, to use that time to figure out what you have coming in and track your expenses. This is all budgeting really is. It's just to make sure that you're not spending all of your money. Tracking what you're spending at the beginning when you have money coming in is a great way to see how quickly that money can leave as well. This will really help your mindset, and even if you're not doing a strict budget, just tracking what you're spending will really help you kind of wrap your head around how quickly money goes and what you can do with your paycheck after you have your 401k and savings out of it. A big tip for your first job is to research your benefits. Not enough people do this even when they've been working many years. I know that it is kind of boring to look through the packet that HR gives you to find all the resources that are available to you, but I highly recommend this. You really need to know what you have offered at your company. Do you have an HSA? Do you have an FSA? Are you able to put pre-tax money away for health expenses? Are you able to stash money away for certain things? Do you have access to a gym membership reimbursement? There are so many different benefits that companies offer their employees that aren't always really front and center when you start a job. You might have HR go through all of them, but you might have to do your own research as well. I highly recommend you take some time to actually look through the options that you have, to look through all of the benefits that you have at this new job, and to see what will actually apply to your life. On a similar note, I recommend that you look at your health insurance plan and kind of know the details about it. Look at what your deductible is, look at what your health insurance covers, look at what your copays are gonna be. Once you have a good idea of how your health insurance is going to work with your new job, that will help you when you are figuring out medical expenses. If this is your first job after college and you're young and you're healthy, you probably won't even use your health insurance that much. But if you have a health condition or you are faced with an emergency, it is very helpful to know what your health insurance covers and how it works. So just take like a little bit of time in the beginning and discover what your health insurance is all about at your company, so that way you're prepared when you actually need to use it. This can really save you a ton of money, and it's one of those things that you don't necessarily need until you need it, but if you're a little bit more prepared in the beginning, you won't be scrambling when you do actually need it. And the final tip is something not to do. Do not rush out and buy a car. Do not rush out and buy a house. Your first job especially is a time where you are going to be figuring out a lot of things about both your new income and what you prefer, and if you even like the job you're in. So tying yourself to a huge monthly payment is a very bad idea. You don't want to rush out and make any big purchases for at least 6 months, maybe even a year when you get your first job. I promise you don't want to do this. I've seen people do it and it locks them in to the job that they have, even if that job turns out to be not a good fit. With your first job out of college, you might want to be able to have the freedom and flexibility to job hop, to move after a year, to look for jobs in another city because where you are is not where you want to live. So do not rush out and buy a house or a car, because those will lock you in, and being locked in is the worst thing you can do with your first job. You want to be able to be flexible and to take advantage of opportunities, and keeping yourself on a budget without any big expenses like a house or a car will allow you to do that. So those are the money tips that I always try to go over whenever I am chatting with someone that's just starting a new job at the company I worked for. It was something that I really enjoyed doing, even if people did not take my advice. I promise I tried to talk so many people into starting a 401k, even though they didn't always want to listen to me. I even had a few people that I literally took their phone and did it for them, with their consent, of course, but like, doing that can be overwhelming and something that you might not want to do, but I promise you, these things will all help you. They will set you up for so much success, and in a decade, you will be so glad you did them. I hope this was really helpful and that you take this advice and run with it. Starting your first job is so exciting, and if you take advantage of all these money tips and you set yourself up from the beginning, you are going to be way better off than a lot of your coworkers and peers. That is exactly what I want for you, so I hope you take advantage of these tips. If you want more money advice and ways to take advantage of your paycheck, check out these videos on my channel. They will help you as you navigate this new job and new paycheck situation that you have.